we should not let lack of finances hinder us from pursuing the dreams and callings on our lives. God is not looking at our bank book when He gives us a purpose.
What if you could make more money and multiply your impact with books without selling thousands of copies? Wouldn't you want to find out just how to do that? Well, that's what this show is all about.
Hi, I'm Hennika Watkis, Porter speaker, coach, author of Podcast Power, and the host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast, inviting you to listen to the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast, brought to you by C. Ruth Taylor, best-selling indie author and the Caribbean's most trusted voice on entrepreneurship. Get ready to dominate entrepreneurship.
It's episode 184 of the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. I'm your host, C. Ruth Taylor, and in today's show, I am going to be airing a little masterclass teaching that was done at the Authorpreneur Secrets Summit in January 2025 when Aminata Coote presented on her writing fast strategies. She writes several books per year and makes a full-time living as a fiction author. And so one of the ways that you increase your income as a fiction author, depending primarily on book sales, is that you have to write a lot of books. And she shares her writing fast tips. So I have that coming up in terms of a kind of interview teaching segment where I am not the person doing it. And then I want to talk about updates on my own entrepreneurship journey and some of the events that are coming up that can help to boost your success as an author. So stay tuned.
Your book is the perfect spark to get the fire going in your personal life, career, business, or ministry. Light that book spark today.
All right. So let's start with my latest entrepreneurship ventures. All right. Just before resuming the show or during the absence, there are a couple of things that I did that I did not put in the resumption episode. So one of the exciting things that took place during my absence was releasing and publishing 18 audiobooks in one day. Yes, 18 audiobooks in one day. How? Well, Amazon has its virtual voice program. And so one day I went into my KDP account and I saw this feature. Now, when I had interviewed Sharon Woodhouse about her audiobook, which was AI narrated, and I asked her, how did it happen? She said she really didn't do much. She just clicked a button and it happened. And I was wondering, is this only rolling out to a few persons? And I got the opportunity. I've always wanted to do audiobooks. In fact, from about 2017, I said, rather than printing some of my books, I would just want them as audiobooks, and I wanted to do more audio. So that gave me a chance to do that. And so these days, when I do the releases, I release the ebook and the audiobook almost at the same time, because the ebook has to come out first and then they will vet it. Amazon will vet it to see if it is eligible and for the audiobook side. And then with a click of a button, it's good. So I know there are other audio book generators. You have Spoken, you have 11 Labs. For the time being, I like this, except that the audio is restricted to Amazon. When you record and narrate it on other platforms, then you can put your audiobook elsewhere. And of course, Spotify, who had bought Findaway Voices, they changed the name to In Audio. And I haven't tested that yet, but you can get your audiobooks onto Spotify via in audio. A lot of us in the Caribbean, if you don't have maybe dual citizenship or an address in the US, we can't publish on Ingram Spark. We can't publish directly on Audible either. So it was easy to go through Findaway Voices. And now there is in audio. So I figure it will be the same thing, but you would have to get that narrated and cleaned up. I need to investigate if Spotify or in audio is taking AI narrated audiobooks. If they are, let me know in the comments. So that was one of the big things. And I released a few more books. So in the return episode, I talked about 6 books that I had published. But it's actually more because we are now in October, right? So this is the 10th month of the year, and I wanted 12 books for 2025. 11 of which would have been written and completed this year. But if I backtrack it to December 2024, when was the first time that I wrote and published a book in less than 24 hours. And that was Small Book, Big Impact, right? And I've continued that trajectory with several other books that I've written. So 2 weeks ago, in October 2025, I wrote a book called Starting Without Money, and I published it the same day that I wrote it. And no, this is after being in the game for a long time. It's 10 years, right, on this publishing journey. And I use ChatGPT to help me with my editing. With this particular book, I did not share it with a friend or get any beta reader. Again, I'm going fast. And it's based on experience. So I'm pretty confident about what I'm sharing. And my philosophy is if it will help somebody, if it will inspire somebody, it 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 is worth publishing. And it's based on my journey of starting several things without money and seeing it work. Getting my degrees when I started my master's, my first degree, 1 term school fee. When I started my doctoral studies, I was unemployed, and the money that I was depending on to register, it was held up for a whole year. So I had to find innovative ways, and we should not let lack of finances hinder us from pursuing the dreams and callings on our lives. God is not looking at our bank book when He gives us a purpose. You can still move forward. And in listening to Starting Without Money, it's about half an hour. It really has encouraged me. I've listened to that over and over. So it's testimonies of countries I've traveled to without money, education without money, getting gifted land and a home, a place to live without money. All of these wonderful things, and thinking of people like Walt Disney, rejected by 300 banks before he got a breakthrough, and Mulaney of Canva, how I think it was 100 rejections before she got investors. And look at Canva today. So you need not feel ashamed or feel like something is wrong with you because you have a dream and you have no money. And you need faith to start. So that's one of the books that is out. Coming up this month, on the 16th, I am to upload another book, which would be this would be book number what, 38, and number 10 for this year, Unshackled Nuggets. Now, Unshackled Nuggets is a book that I've been thinking of writing for more than 5 years. It should have been a series of pep talks about insights that I've gotten that have brought me tremendous freedom and healing in my life. But then I did an interview on a podcast with Shani Warp Graham called Waiting with Grace podcast, and she was asking about my single journey from heartbreak to purpose. And as I listened and decoded my process, I recognized, whoa, there's actually a trajectory here. And so I created freedom roadmap and looked at all the elements that contributed to my healing over the years because I've had mental health challenges. I have had a lot of difficulties that at times caused me to want to give up on life and living. Heartbreak, father wound, mother wound, relational wounds. And I am at a place in my life now where I feel healed and whole. It doesn't mean I don't have struggles, but I have coping mechanisms. And as I looked back on it, I realized, oh, there is a kind of roadmap here. And so the first part of the book has 7 pep talks that will help you to pursue your vision, mission, and purpose, especially pep talks about the entrepreneurial journey, like visibility for the vision, right? So there is that. There was a time I didn't want to come on camera. I didn't want to do interviews. I didn't want to do all of these things. I didn't want to put myself out there, fear of criticism and judgment and other things. And I had a dream that somebody was stealing something from me and was not representing me in the marketplace. And that kind of woke me up, along with Matthew 5:16, to let our lights shine that others may see our good works and give glory to God. So, yes, Unshackled Nugget talks about that. So, if you are imprisoned by hurt, relational hurts, and pain, this book will help to set you free. So I talk about family foundations and forgiveness. I talk about recounting what is happening and identifying the lies and recovering your true identity. We talk about emotional healing and well-being, emotional journaling. And this book is going to come with a journal. And we talk about being open to therapy or professional intervention because for years I didn't want that. And the freedom I found in doing that, and about moving forward with hope. And I want to start an Unshackled Life transformation program with this book. So it's Unshackled Nuggets from Hurt to Hope. So it's about healing insights to get you from hurt to hope. And that's my whole existence, to give people hope, healthy optimism to persevere to the end. So that book is coming out. And then there's another book coming out in November. So all the books that I want to release for this year are now written, and I'm editing and working on them. The book for November is called Making Sense of 9 to 5 in the East and the West. And I'm writing that with somebody in East Asia called Boaz. If you're familiar with the story of Ruth and Boaz, you'll find it very fascinating. But we're connected by purpose and looking at marketplace ministry. Our 9 to 5 is more than a paycheck. We look at AI and the future of work and how to bring wisdom in our workplace, especially as Christians. And I'm excited about that. The final book is Driving with Confidence, Courage to Stay Behind the Wheel, how I gain courage to stay behind the wheel. So I have been struggling with driving for about 20 years. I really don't like to drive. There was a time when I was afraid of driving. I've talked about this book, I think, for 3 years, but it's really coming out December of this year. I already have it on pre-order. Making Sense of 9 to 5 is on pre-order. Unshackled Nuggets is on pre-order. And so I gave myself a challenge that I would drive for 21 times. I haven't been keeping up. I've gone behind the wheel 2 times. So I guess I need another 19, but I'm going to cut that down to maybe 12. But we'll see how it goes. The idea is to just be consistently behind the wheel. And then I can release the book with integrity, courage to stay behind it. So if I can go behind it consistently. So I'd put out 21. Honestly, it's very challenging because it's something that I don't like to do, but the fear to drive is gone. It's the consistency of driving that's now the issue. So I promise you at minimum 12 times, and then I can release the book with integrity come December 31. And that rounds out the books. October is preparation for my Small Book Big Impact Challenge. And that's November, where I am challenging you to write a small book that will produce a big impact. Now, a small book, when published, is at minimum 24 pages on Amazon. You have short Kindle reads, but my small books go up to like 24, 200 pages. Like, this is a small book, even though it doesn't look so small, but it's still classified as a small book because we're looking at anywhere from 1,000 words, like a children's book, all the way up to 30,000 words for your fiction or nonfiction. And you can go to authorpreneursecrets.com/SBBI, Small Book Big Impact, right? SBBI, and sign up. Already about 12 or 14 persons have signed up for the challenge. It used to be restricted to just the Facebook group, so I'll still be having support and accountability in the Facebook group, but I've extended it wider. So anybody can join. And so you're going to get a badge to say, I am doing the Small Book Big Impact Challenge, and you can display that. You can have weekly check-ins on via email, daily check-ins in the Facebook group, or on your own social media page. You can post that, and then there are prizes. Through the Entrepreneur Secrets Academy, I built on this book, right? Write fast, publish cost effectively, generate lasting income. You will get 2 months free access to the support group, where we have coaches, and I go in once per month, and together we help you to publish your book for $1,000 or less, and guide you into how to market and sell books, and to turn your book into lasting income streams, generate lasting income. And that is really a godsend for many authors, because they don't have the money to outsource the full project to like a Bamboo Sparks that starts at $2,500. So that's part of the prize. You really don't need a prize, because the incentive of writing and then publishing the book will change your life, but to just sweeten the pie. So we have 4 categories this year. We have poetry, children's book, fiction, and nonfiction, including memoirs. And most people who've signed up so far say they're going to write their story or a nonfiction book. And so that's what's happening. And so for the rest of this month, the next 2 or 3 episodes, I'll be focusing on writing. I'm also challenging somebody on the Small Book Big Impact Challenge to not just write the book, but to publish it. And we're talking over 30 days. So I know it is possible. And I'm going to have an episode on that, where we go through the publishing process. How can you produce a quality book in 30 days, write and publish it? What would your timetable look like? Also on Thursdays, I have a live masterclass on YouTube, where I'll be continuing the teaching and explaining. And with this podcast, because it's geared towards equipping and raising up 10,000 Caribbean entrepreneurs to be by 2030, I'll be bringing in the entrepreneur rock stars. You have to be earning between 1,000 and 10,000 US at every 3 to 12 months to be featured. And then all of that is going to lead up to 2030, where we're going to have the Caribbean Entrepreneurs Rock Stars coffee table book and a grand gala celebration. And so if you are on the list, I'm going to be doing a registry. So if you've been impacted by anything that I've done and you want to be listed as one of the entrepreneurs, we're going to have a registry, and your name will be in the book. And then we're going to have special awards with those who are considered rock stars, right? The rock stars would have to earn at least 5,000 US, or the equivalent of $1 million US in your currency. Like in Jamaica, that is like $6,250 between selling books and creating a program. You need to create at least one program. So the Small Book Impact Challenge is geared towards that. So you would have to publish the book and then turn that book into one of 30 different profitable income streams. And I'll be rolling out the Authorpreneur Challenge at the next summit, and you'll be hearing more about that. talking about the Authorpreneurship Summit, I've already begun to secure the guests for 2026. January is going to be January 30 to 31, and it's about being future ready, writing faster, publishing smarter in an AI world. So I'm really, really looking forward to the summit, and you'll be hearing more about the speakers. So it's a lot that's coming up and going on. So the rest of the year will be dedicated to the challenge. So all of this month is preparing you for the Small Book Big Impact Challenge. November will be on the challenge, but I'll start airing interviews with those who will be coming on the summit. Also, Bamboo Sparks is having Legacy Builder Live, and they're launching their YouTube channel to help their authors to grow 90 feet tall with books, because many times after the book launch, I find that Caribbean authors are not doing much with their books, and they don't know how to market and sell the books. And so this channel will be geared towards marketing and book selling and helping our authors to do more with their book, to market and to maximize the impact of the book. And so Caribbean Legacy Builder is Heritage Month in Jamaica, and the on the eve of Heroes Day, where we honor people who've done great things in the nation, we're bringing together two of our authors who are Amazon bestselling authors who've written books that celebrate Caribbean heritage and legacy. One, Janet Morgan, her book is about the proverbs her mother used to say and how that helped them. So it's preserving her mother's legacy. And the other by Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson is stories about rural women in Jamaica. And it is even told in the Jamaican language. There's patois in there, and it celebrates our resilience and the best of Jamaica. And her book is Guana Road Fire and Other Stories. And so it captures the best of our culture. And we're going to hear why they wrote these books, what's the story behind it. And Bamboo Sparks is going to be also having a special. I can't say what it is, but on the 19th of October, Sunday at 5 p.m. on their YouTube channel, they'll be having this live broadcast and launching the YouTube channel. So you want to pay attention to that, because I think by the next time, the next episode that comes out, the event would have gone. So I want to encourage you to join live or watch the YouTube replay and subscribe to the channel as I seek to pen it, preserve it, and pass it on. And finally, before we get into the teaching with Aminata Coote, upcoming is a self-publishing advice conference by Ally. I'm the Caribbean representative of Ally. So I want to encourage you to go to that conference. And it's October, Self-Publishing Con is October 18 to 19. And I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes. And the speakers, they have amazing speakers lined up. And this helps you to be aware of what's happening in the self-publishing industry. You will learn a lot of things. So if you want to stay on top of things and know what is happening, get resources. They have a lot of prizes giving away. The industry leaders will be presenting. People like Joanna Penn. I see Michael Laron is back, and some new people. And I hope this is not taken the wrong way, but I see a lot of Black faces and women in this year's conference, and I smiled, because very often outside of Michael Laron, I don't see a lot of Black faces, and it kind of feels foreign, although Ally is global. And so I was happy to see that. To register, you can go to selfpublishingadvice.org/conference. The link is in the show notes. And I should say that it is free. All right. And so let's get into this, what I call masterclass on writing fast with Aminata Coote. She really gives some cool tips and tools that if you want to end 2025 with a bang, end it strong, with a book that will open doors and change your life and leave a legacy, this is what you need to watch. All right, enough. Let's get into the teaching with Aminata Coote.
Aminata Coote is a Jamaican Amazon best-selling Christian nonfiction and romance writer. Her love affair with books began with an upside-down copy of Silas Marner. Aminata writes stories that point to a God bigger than our failings and provides hope to others. She has written over 35 books, most of which are contemporary Christian romance novels. Her nonfiction books include several Bible studies and devotionals, including Through God's Eyes, Marriage Lessons for Women, and Draw Closer, 52-week devotional journal for women. Aminata is passionate about helping women understand the truth of the Bible for themselves. She also recently started making a living with her books and will be sharing some of her strategies with us. Let's welcome Aminata to the summit.
Ruth invited me to speak on 3 particular topics. She wanted me to talk about tips for writing fast, how I market my books, and how I'm growing my catalog of books. So I put them in the order that made rational sense for my brain. So I'm going to start with giving you my tips for writing fast. Now, I'm going to preface it by saying that I don't actually consider myself a fast writer. And I know people will disagree with me because they've seen what I produced. What I do consider myself is I am a consistent writer. So for me, what that means is I am writing every day, right? So before you decide you want to be a fast writer, or when you decide you want to be a writer, how do you start the process? How do you get more words on the page? I have it in 3 different sections. So I'm going to start with the setup. So the first thing you need to know if you want to be a fast writer is you need to know your genre. How are you going to know what to write if you don't know what your readers expect? So you need to read widely in your genre. You need to study what bestsellers are doing in your genre so you can know what to do. You need to determine how you write. So are you a person who you need to be up in the mornings early? Are you a late writer? Do you need to have music? Do you need perfect silence? Do you need the house to be a particular temperature? There are some people who need that. Create a system. So when you figure out what's the best time for you to write, create a system. There are some persons who will use a particular candle, which they light just before they start writing, so that it triggers their brain. I remember when I started writing, I had a diffuser and I would use essence of peppermint because I read somewhere that it stimulates thought. So whenever I plugged it in now, I know that, okay, it's time to start writing. When will you write? So a lot of us say we're going to write, but we never put that writing time on our calendar. So what time are you going to be writing? I found that it's best for you to put it on your calendar like an appointment or like a date. So, okay, you're going to be writing at X time. What you might want to do is let your friends and your families know that you're not going to be available at that time. So block it off on your calendar. What you might need to do also is you might need to put your phone on airplane mode or put it in another room so that if it does go off, nobody knows, nobody can disturb you. That also ties into my next point, which is to remove distractions. For me, my kryptonite is Facebook. I don't know why Facebook gets me, but it gets me every time. So what I do is I put my phone in a different room. If it's not in a room, I will not be tempted to scroll. So that is what I do. Use a timer. Many people talk about the Pomodoro Technique, which I have found to be successful. So the Pomodoro, for those who don't know, it is a system where you set a timer for 25 minutes and you focus on doing the task during 25 minutes. You get a 5-minute break and you do it again. The recommendation is that you do 4 25-minute sprints and then you take a longer break. I found this app. It's called pomofocus.io. They are actually very flexible because they actually allow you to put in the task that you're working on for each Pomodoro. So as it checks it off, you can actually, it's like a checklist with your timer. So they're kind of very helpful. So part 2 of writing fast is having the right mindset. So for me, as I said, I'm not a fast writer in my head. I'm a consistent writer. So I look at writing consistently. Now, you may have heard people tell you that you have to write every day. Depending on what your life is like, you may not be able to write every day, but maybe you can say, okay, I'm going to be writing 4 days this week, or I'm going to be writing 4 hours today. In my opinion, it is better for you to do small, concentrated consistent effort rather than one doing bulk writing. But that again ties into the first point. How do you write? Because there are some people who literally are just burst writers. They will write 10,000 words in a day and then they don't write again for the rest of the week. Is that your process? You need to know what works for you. Don't just take my advice for it. This is what works for me. But if you don't test it, you won't know. Set goals and deadlines. So if you don't know when you want to finish your book, you're not going to be motivated to write because you're going to think you have all the time in the world. For me, if I'm going to start a new manuscript, I know, okay, the first thing I decide is how many words do I want this book to be? Typically for me, that's a 50,000 word count. When do I want to finish it by? So for example, right now, I started a book on the 15th. I am setting my deadline for the end of this month, which is the 31st. So I know I need to write X amount of words every day in order to meet my goal. Now, the thing about it is I may not be able to write every day because today I'm probably not going to write, but I know that I'm actually on target because I knew that this event was coming up. So I put it in my schedule and I did my words from yesterday. Say I don't need to write today. So you see, even though I'm not writing today, I'm still consistent because I wrote every day this week. All right. What I've also found helpful is instead of setting a daily word, and that's why I'm not freaked out today, instead of setting a daily goal, I have a weekly word count. So for example, your goal is to write 5,000 words for the week. Then you can choose to do that all at once, or you can choose to do 1,000 words every day, or you want to break it into smaller increments, or you want, it's flexible. That's another thing. You need to remember that a deadline is not set in stone. If something happens, you should be willing to shift and to maneuver it. Because here's the thing, if your deadline is inflexible, it's going to feel like a noose and you're not going to want to do it. So you want to give yourself the flexibility within reason, so that you can actually continue to be productive. So some persons, what they do to motivate them is they set a pre-order. If you know your book is going to be published on, it's supposed to be published on February 28th, then you know automatically that you need to get that manuscript in, I think, about 3 days before. So say the 25th, you need to get your book uploaded to Amazon. And if you're going to have to do it, and you can work backwards and you can calculate how much time you need, you know how much time your editing is going to take, how much the formatting is going to take, how much time your writing is going to take based on how much time you need or how many words you can produce in a session or in a day. Make a plan. Now, even if you are not a plotter, you need a plan. And true confession, I am a pantser at heart. I do not like plotting. I have a writing friend whose her last outline was like 30,000 words, and just hearing that freaks me out. I am not a planner, but I have found that if I know what I'm going to write in each session, then I can write faster. So have an idea, even if the thing that you have as your quote unquote plan is she meets his parents. That's a start. It will give your brain something to focus on when you sit down to write. Do some research ahead of time. Now, one of the things that hangs up most writers is that while they're in the process, they find out that they don't actually know something. So what they tend to want to do is they tend to want to stop and to go and research. But we all know that the research is like a big rabbit hole that we all fall down, right? So what you need to do is having a plan up front will help you to do some basic research so you can have some basic information, so that will help you when you go down to write. But if you find that you start writing and there's something you don't know, do not stop. My trick is I put hashtag something happens here. Now, personally, I am not strong on descriptions in my first round. So I will put hashtag describe room, hashtag describe outfit, and I will move on. So when I'm going through, I'm searching the manuscript for my hashtag so I can fill those in, because then I can go in and finalize the manuscript then. Having an accountability partner or tracking your progress is also something that will help to keep you on track. What you may want to do is you may want to tell a friend, you may want to announce it to your social media or to your newsletter community. Tell people that you're writing and what your deadline is. You can have a friend that will just check in on your progress. When I just started, I had a non-writing friend. I would tell her what my goals were, and she would check in on me once a week and say, hey, how are you progressing? What's going on? What are you working on now? What are you supposed to be doing next? And that helps me to keep me going and to keep me on track. Write when you don't want to. you will find that even though you love writing, there are going to be days when you just don't want to write. You don't want to write. Like this book I'm writing right now, I have been fighting this book since the 12th of January, because I started January 12th and I wrote 5,000 words because it was not working. I do not want to write this book. I did not. But what I do is I put 5 minutes on the clock and I trick myself and I tell myself, I say, Amy, you only have to write for 5 minutes. Normally in 5 minutes, the story starts getting fun again and I forget about the timer. You can also tell yourself, you only need to write and put your bare minimum. My bare minimum is 250 words. I only need to write 250 words. Once I get my 250 words, I don't need to do anything else. And I keep going. I've also found that when I'm stuck, sometimes what I can do is I can read the last scene or the last chapter, and that gets me back into the flow of the story and it gets the juices flowing again. The last mindset tip is very important, I believe. Do not compare yourself to anyone, right? When you're comparing yourself, it's going to trip you up, right? Don't compare, just move on. You need to sit down to write. This is the process. If you don't sit down to write, you're not going to be able to write. Take breaks so you don't get fatigued. Don't edit while you're writing. When you get stuck, write about a scene that you're really looking forward to, and then you can just go forward. Now, what I did to do back catalog is I basically just focus on writing in series. I like 3 books, you might like more. If you focus on writing on series and you have a publishing schedule, this will help you to go ahead and continue to write books in your series so you can have more books to publish.
All right. I trust that you found that inspirational and very insightful. And now we need to go from idea to implementation. And so if you're going to join the Small Book Big Impact Challenge and follow the guidance that Aminata just gave, let us know in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify. And remember to go to authorpreneursecrets.com/SBBI and register for the challenge so that we can do this thing together. Remember, of making many books, there is no end. So go pen it to win it and dominate authorpreneurship. This is Ruth Taylor saying, ta for now, until next time.